this is Don Downey with Forest Metrix. This is a video to describe how to use the Forest Metrix report engine to process your Forest Metrix data in Excel to create a number of pivot tables and graphs. This is available to the Pro Plus users, and if you are subscribed to the Pro Plus package, I'm pulling up an iPad here, you can request the report engine under the Help screen. You press this button to request the Excel report engine, and you can email me and I will send it to you. It is a macro-enabled workbook that needs to live on your computer hard drive somewhere. It cannot be hosted on, Microsoft OneDrive or something like that. It needs to live on your hard drive. So when you have that workbook, you will open it up in Excel for Windows only. When you first open it, you will need to acknowledge a security warning or two that there is active content in the workbook because it is a macro-enabled workbook. So when you first open it up, you will see what we call the Report Engine Setup tab. And this can be accessed. If you close it, it can be accessed. When you're running this, you'll see Forest Metrix and Show Form. And this is the form. Now when you first open it, it's just going to show some data from the last time it was run because it is saving data to your computer's registry. So don't be alarmed. All of this stuff just gets overwritten every time you run it. So first thing you'll do is go to Setup, and you'll notice also the first time you run it, a lot of these things will not be filled in because these too are being read from your computer's registry. So we will import timber data. So you need to locate a data file, and I'm going to pull up a timber file that was exported. And when you do that, you'll see a whole bunch of tree data show up in the background. And this is all both raw and processed columns of data that is exported from the device after you run the analysis. When you do that, you'll see certain things show up. You'll see your product calls. The reports you can run the reports on all of your products or just limited products, and you'll also see where you can change that within individual pivot tables. You can sort and filter out different products. You will also see this tree status. Now this refers to your custom tree data options. I'm going to pull up an iPad here. In your settings, in your custom tree data, whatever you are using in this first field becomes the primary sorting mechanism in the reports. All of your custom fields are available, but it is the custom tree data option 1 that will be filled in here. Now there's a function where different statuses can be grouped. For instance, you might, for your status, have acceptable overstory, unacceptable overstory, unacceptable suppressed, unacceptable mid-story. You might have a number of different classifications, but there are a couple summary reports that, due to space considerations, will group them. So I might have several statuses show up here. You are actually limited to only 6, and then you need to put them into the appropriate groups. So you name the group and you determine which status of here goes into which groups. This isn't a great illustration because I only have 2 statuses and there are 2 groups. One thing you have to do when you first run it is you need to select a master unit. This affects only a couple summary reports where you choose a master unit of, I will say, chords, and no matter how I measured volumes on the products on the device, on certain reports they will be all converted into your master unit. So for instance, you might consider saw timber generally in board feet and pulp in cords, but you also might want to say, okay, well, how many cords overall of all products did I have on this tract? That's what this master unit is intended for. And like most of these things, even if you're not actively using it, you do need to fill something in because the report engine is looking for a couple values. You can also adjust your confidence interval to see your sampling error on a couple of the summary reports. Your conversion factors can be adjusted, and this relates to this master unit where If you want to report in chords, the report engine needs to know how would you like to convert the MBF into chords, and you would change your conversion factors here. So after you run through the setup and import your data, incidentally, this is all kind of one-time deal. All of these settings get saved to the computer's registry, so from now on, whenever you open up the report engine, all of these things will appear automatically. You'll go to standard reports. Now there are two different sets of reports. There are standard reports and there are special reports. Now special reports are just that. Unless they have been customized for you, they're most likely not relevant. They are requiring certain types of data to be collected, so they will generally fail unless you are collecting data in those specific manners. So for the most part, there's nothing that you would need to use on this special report page. The standard reports, however, are universally applicable. You will see your stands will be listed, and you have a number of reports to choose from. Now, you can just toggle them all on and off. The first time you run it, you'll most likely want to run all the reports so you can see, and then over time you'll say, well, I really only need this one, and this one, for instance. So you can just pick and choose the actual reports that you want, because each of these reports is going to be a worksheet per stand. So I have 4 stands. If I produce all the reports, I'm going to end up with 40 worksheets across the workbook here. Nonetheless, I'll create them all, but I'm only going to do it for a single stand. So I'll select stand 3, and I want to run all these reports on stand 3, and I'm going to create reports. Now, there's always a chance that you're going to get an error message when this happens, and that is because in Excel, we lose a lot of control over settings, as in you might have Visual Basic activated and you might be running Microsoft Excel version 365 with Service Pack 2 in Windows 10 home environment, for instance. There are so many permutations of Excel and Windows installations that depending on the settings, you may get errors. If that's the case, just contact us and we will troubleshoot them. Or everything could just work fine. So once I have reports produced, you'll see I have TPA3, BA3, DD3, and so forth. That refers to the report and the stand. I can close that. And now I have a number of reports. You have a tracked summary report, you have a stand summary report. These are the only 2 reports that are not pivot tables and graphs. These are kind of a high level, sampling stats, species composition, diameter distribution, and a sum of volumes. It's very similar to the content that you see on the device on the summary reports. So this report is very similar to the stand summary and tracked summary reports on the iPad, where it's a fairly high level, not a lot of detail, but a good summary of all the different attributes, volumes, and basal areas. And then we get into all the pivot tables, where you'll see each of these is a series of pivot tables, and these can all be adjusted as necessary to sort and filter and do more detailed analysis than what is afforded on the iOS device. I'll do another video explaining how to deal with pivot tables, but this wraps up the intro to the report engine overall. If you need to get back to that report engine window, just go up to Forest Metrix and say Show Form, and then you could continue running reports.